Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about summer flying tips. We are sitting outside because the dogs were not happy about being inside. They kept whining at me, and so they're just way more content out here. But yeah, I've been meaning to film this video for a while, but I'm on reserve this month, and you guys know when I'm on reserve, I literally have time for reserve, and then my days off are just me getting ready for reserve again. So, and then my big block of days off when I can usually like get more stuff done. I had a bachelorette weekend, so I just have not had time to do anything other than work in the bachelorette, so we love that. But these tips can be applied really for any time you're flying, but we're just gonna call it a summer flying tips video since it's the middle of the summer. So let's get things started. You guys know I like to ramble if I did not already say that. So we're gonna try and make this as short and sweet as possible. So the most important thing when you're traveling by plane is to be flexible, okay? If you have something that you absolutely have to get to, you're going on a cruise or a wedding or whatever it may be that you cannot miss it, then book your flights really early. Like, if it's something in the evening, then book the first flight of the day and then just kill time once you get there. If it's something super important, like a cruise that you really cannot miss, honestly, I would book a flight the day before, get a hotel, and then just relax until it's time to go to your cruise, because those cruises are not gonna wait for you if your flight is delayed the day of and you don't get in. I cannot tell you how many times I've had people that are like, we're gonna miss our cruise or whatever, and I'm like, why'd you book it so close? Like, they only gave themselves a couple hours. Like, no, give yourself like a whole day for that kind of stuff, because things like that, they will not wait for you. And so make sure that you get there in time, especially too, like if you're traveling to Europe and you have a connecting flight, like give yourself a couple hours in between those flights to make sure that you actually like get there. If it's delayed, you don't have to worry about being rebooked or whatever. Like, you have time in between. For international flights, I usually give myself at least 3 hours, especially if I'm non-revving. When I'm non-revving, I actually usually fly like the first flight of the morning and then just sit in the airport, or like leave the airport, go get lunch, and then come back later to do the international. Like, give yourself plenty of time. Now, if you don't really care, then, you know, you can book those tighter connections and you can, you know, do whatever you want. Like, if you don't care if you sit in the airport or miss your flight or whatever, then, you know, that's cool. But if you like definitely need to get there, then give yourself plenty of time if you have to make a connection, or just go the day before to make sure like you have tons of options to get you there if something crazy happens. With that being said, if there is an option for a direct flight, even if it is more expensive, do that option, because that's one flight you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about, oh, I missed my connection, now how am I gonna do this? You don't have to worry about getting stuck in a random airport. Like, if you do get stuck, at least you're stuck at home, or you're stuck with your friend or whoever you are visiting. You know, if it's a direct flight, you don't have to worry about, now I'm in this middle location that I literally know no one, you know, I'm gonna have to get a hotel here, whatever the case may be. So be flexible and book direct if you can. Another thing is to wear layers. Even though it is 1,000,000 degrees outside, that does not mean that the plane is gonna be like not freezing cold, okay? I'm always cold, so anytime I travel, I have a jacket at least. And I also have a little blanket that I keep in my bag that you can get from, like, I got mine from TJ Maxx for like $3. And it's just a little blanket. It like fits in a thing like this big that I just stick on the outside of my suitcase. And it's not gonna give me like a ton of warmth, but it's good just to have as an extra layer. We tend to keep the airplanes a little bit cooler, just because when you mix like the different pressures, and then you're inside this metal tube, and then if turbulence happens, if it's warm on that aircraft, that's when people are going to start getting sick. They're going to start passing out, and having a medical emergency 36,000 feet in the air, it's not something anyone wants to deal with. So that's why we tend to keep the airplanes a little bit cooler as opposed to hot. We also have some airplanes that are just designed really poorly and the airflow is just not good. So like our Airbus 321s, the front and the back of the airplanes are going to be a lot cooler than the middle part of the airplane. So if you're trying to keep the middle of the aircraft comfortable, then the front and back are going to be absolutely freezing. It'll be ice cold. If you're trying to keep the front and back comfortable, then the middle of the aircraft will be completely just so hot. People are gonna be sweating. It's gonna be completely miserable. So just keep that in mind. Always have layers. You can always take your layers off on the plane, you know, but like wear like a t-shirt and then a sweatshirt, maybe bring a blanket. I don't know. We don't typically have blankets on domestic flights to give. Some airlines you might be able to purchase them, but at least the airline that I work for and some of the airlines that I've just flown on, they don't provide blankets unless it's like a transatlantic flight. So if you know you're gonna be cold, then bring stuff to like be on the offense for that. Bring entertainment, like, and bring extra like portable like battery, what are they called, like those just for like chargers for your phones, the portable chargers. Most planes now have like portable chargers, USB plugs or whatever, but just because they have it does not mean that's gonna work. So I can't tell you how many times people have been like, my phone's about to die and my like plug doesn't work. I mean, usually you can either use somebody else's, or, you know, if I have a charged power bank, then I'll let the passenger use it, like I don't care. But it's not always going to be the case, so have a backup plan. And going along with that, just because a plane has a screen that you can watch movies does not mean it's going to work. So, and those issues are not something that maintenance can come on and fix really easily, so they're not going to get fixed before we take off. So just have your backup plans, have your movies downloaded on your tablets, have your music downloaded, have books that you can read, just have things to entertain yourself in case the screens or whatever don't, like if you're one of those people that uses the screens. I don't ever actually use the screens on the plane. I always just have my own TV shows and stuff downloaded. But if you are one that uses those, just make sure you have a backup plan in case those don't work. Also, along with the entertainment, bring headphones, even for your children, because most airlines have a quiet cabin policy, which means if you are doing anything with audio on your personal devices, you have to wear headphones. The audio can't be blasting throughout the cabin, which I don't know, it kind of shocks me that people think that that's just like okay anyways, because who wants to listen to like your movies, you know? And I know with kids it can be tricky because some of them don't want to wear headphones and it's just easier to let them watch that than let them scream. But you know, you are in a public place around a bunch of other people that don't want to listen to that, so just be mindful of that and bring headphones for your kids. Most flight attendants will tell you like you can't have that blasting, so bring headphones. And sometimes the airlines will have them, but they're usually the old like headphone jack, the circle one, and so those won't work with like iPhones and iPads anymore. And if you buy some in the airport, they're going to be super expensive, so just have some on hand. Another thing you should bring are snacks and a water bottle. Okay, most people, I didn't realize, didn't know this, but you can bring an empty water bottle through security and then fill it up once you get into the terminal. There's tons of like water bottle filling stations, water fountains and stuff like that, that you can use to fill it up. Otherwise you're going to be spending like $6 on a bottle of water that should only cost like $2. So bring your water bottle, fill it up. Then, you know, if you're delayed, you don't have to keep buying waters. You can refill them up. If you are delayed, you don't have to keep buying snacks. You can bring dry snacks through security. As long as it's not like liquid, you can bring it through. So bring lots of snacks, because again, you're going to be paying way too much money for snacks that you could buy at the grocery store for a larger quantity. That's going to be like half the price of what you can buy them at the airport. Also too, depending on if you get like super early morning flights, sometimes the restaurants and stuff aren't open in the airport, so just make sure you have stuff in case stuff isn't open, or you have a connecting flight and you're delayed and now you don't have time to stop and get food making it to your next gate. At least you have like something you can snack on, because the only flights that provide a meal are well, if you're sitting in the main cabin. If you're sitting in first class, any of the longer, like medium to longish flights will provide a meal. But if you're sitting in main cabin, the only flights that provide a meal for you guys is the transatlantic, which are going to Europe. So there's some of the longer flights you can like purchase a meal, but yeah, it's not always guaranteed to have food on the plane other than like the little snacks that they have. So yeah, bring your snacks. Oh, I forgot to mention this when I was talking about like planning for the airport, but get to TSA super early, especially if you're traveling in the morning, because that's like the busiest time of the airport, like where the airport is its busiest. And the TSA lines have been insane. So I would say if you're traveling between like 6 and 8 in the morning, especially out of Charlotte, to get to the airport like 3 hours early. If you get through quick somehow, at least you're through security, and then you can just chill, you know, chill at the gate, whatever. But at least you got through. Like, I can't tell you what's more stressful than like getting to security, and you're like, oh my gosh, my flight's about to board, and you're still just like waiting in this long line, and you're like, no, it's not gonna work. But silo out. And then the last little tip I have is do not get drunk in the airport. Your flight gets delayed. Oh, I'm gonna go to the bar, have a drink, sure, whatever, that's fine. But do not get wasted while you're waiting on your flight, because the flight attendants have the right to deny boarding if they don't feel comfortable taking you. And if you're drunk, nobody wants to deal with a drunk person 36,000 feet in the air. Because I mean, if something happens up there, if an incident happens, they're just kind of stuck with you, you know? So don't get drunk. If your flight gets delayed, you can have a drink, you can get a buzz, whatever, but do not get wasted and then try to board a flight. Because two, a lot of people don't know this, but drinking in the air, so 1 drink in the air is basically like 3 on the ground. So if you're drunk on the ground, when you get up to the air, up into the air, it's just gonna intensify. So yeah, please don't do that. But yeah, those are just some of my summer tips. I'm sure I could come up with more, but this video is already long, so we're gonna just stop it right there. Those are just things that I've seen the past couple weeks this summer that, like, you know, people, especially the food one, like, I didn't have time to get food, what do you have to eat on here? And half the time it's like pretzels, cookies. so that one is a big one, like bring stuff that you can eat. But yeah, these are just things that I've seen. I've had a lot of issues with the no headphones thing lately, having to tell people like they can't do that. So just be prepared when you're flying. But yeah, if you have any extra questions, like you have a trip coming up and you don't know if you can bring this or if you can do this, like ask it, I'll tell you yes or no. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Some of these are probably things that you've heard before, but in case you haven't, there you go. But yeah, as always, any questions, comments, whatever, put them in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.